Good morning, Florida lacrosse fans. It's Tuesday morning, March 15. Lee Roggenberg, Florida Lacrosse News, welcoming you to morning coffee. We'll sip. So good. Okay, let's start with one of the more stunning things that happened last night. That's happened in the college scene so far. We've had the Jacksonville men with their great 2 victories over Denver and Duke this year. But last night, congrats to the Florida Southern men. Ranked 16th this week in the polls. They knocked off the number 1 team in Division II, Lemoyne, defending national champs, I believe. Congratulations to Marty Ward, his players, his program for this remarkable accomplishment. Final score is 12-10. Stoneman graduate Kevin Horowitz won 60% of the faceoff dot. St. John Paul grad Nick Shannon had a big day with 6 ground balls and 5 caused turnovers. They were led by 3 players who scored 2 goals each. American Heritage Del Rey graduate Colin Sipic scored a goal for Lemoyne in the loss. I took a look at the Lemoyne roster, and I believe it's 5 or 6 Florida kids who are up there. Ryan Eisenman, Boca Raton grad, Maui Wilhelm, Creekside, and a number of others. And just a remarkable victory for Florida Southern. Congratulations, Marty. Okay, light schedule on the boys' side in high school last night. Easy winners were Palmer Trinity, St. Brendan, and Oak Hall. And then we had University, Nova, over South Plantation, 12-8. And then we had 3 results with MIAA teams in town. McDonough easily handling Jupiter last night. Frankly, I don't know how Jupiter had any legs after all the games they've played recently. Gilman, 16-10 over Montverde. That's a heck of a game for Montverde, and really does tell us just how fast they're rising as a program and how we have to keep an eye on them. And game last night that I attended in Boca, boys Latin 13-8 over St. Andrews. One of the best games I have seen in a long time down here. Played at just breakneck speed. 2 remarkably talented teams playing at a very high level. St. Andrews' Jack Schulte was fantastic last night. After the game, went up and talked to Brian Farrell, the head coach at Boys Latin, and Tony Seaman. They were discussing about just how good Jack is and the game he had last night. Boys Latin, one of the highest ranked seniors in the country, Dominic Petramala, Dave's son. You talk about a shot and how fast and how hard he gets his shot off. The only thing that came to mind, it's probably a tough reference because I don't know how many people have actually watched it live and up close, but it reminded me substantially of going to watch highlight and seeing how fast those baskets can throw on what is a 50-yard long indoor arena. Dom's shot has to be seen in person to be believed. I know the game was broadcast, streamed live. I'm not sure if a replay is available. If it is available, I would certainly encourage everyone to watch this game. It was 8-7 going into the 4th quarter, and Boys Latin was able to pull away a couple of unforced turnovers by St. Andrews. Really hurt. It was a game that started out Boys Latin jumping out 4-0. St. Andrews scoring 4 goals to bring it back to 4-4. Boys Latin scoring another 4 in a row to end the half at 8-4. Excuse me. And then St. Andrews playing a great third quarter to bring it back to 1. Just a big crowd too. And I just want to comment. Over years past, when I would go out to St. Andrews games, there was a very large student population in the stands. Kids, if you're out there, get back to the stands, please. Some of the regular season games have been pretty sparsely attended. I know that when playoff time comes around, the kids tend to come out, but if you were a student, you missed it last night. Oh boy, did you miss something special. So the just a marvelous game last night, and it was really the second half of a doubleheader for me, as I ran over to Heritage Delray before this to watch the Bartram Trail girls come down, play Heritage Delray, number 1 versus number 1. Very well played game 2. In the end, Heritage Delray just went on a run in the second half and pulled away for the victory. It was 9-7, I believe, in the second half. And just you get to see 2 games like this, one on the girls' side, one on the boys' side, and you see the quality of these games, the speed at which it's played, and you just have to admire where this sport is, not just in Florida. I mean, becoming a fan of the sport to me is just as important as becoming a fan of your team. There's so much great athleticism, skill, courage that goes into this sport. And last night, once again, proved to me just how much fun it is. Just a funny aside. It seems that every time I see Bartram Trail in person, Coach Jacoviak as another addition to her family. Had a chance to see her relative newborn. I don't know, I guess maybe 6 months at this point, not sure. And adorable. And Coach Jacoviak, there and her team will be playing Pinecrest tonight, St. Thomas tomorrow night. Just congrats just for even attempting this and showing that you have a heck of a program there. Girls, you have a heck of a team there too. Okay. The rest on the girls' side last night, Palmetto of the 11-8 win over University. St. Edward's a 13-6 over Sebastian River. Vero with a 15-11 win over Valor Christian of Colorado. Now, for those who don't know Valor Christian, it's pretty darn good lacrosse programs out in Colorado. John Grant Jr. was the head coach on the boys' side there for a number of years. Came down, they played St. Andrews one year. Lakeland with the 12-6 win over Discovery. And Western 15-9 over Cardinal Gibbons. And Gainesville and Buchholz with easy wins last night. One thing I wanted to mention was, and I kind of have to sort of get to this every year, I'm starting to see the head and the neck shots creep back in on the boys' game. That was kind of part of the video I mentioned yesterday with Facebook. I don't think at this point it's worth keeping it up on the site, so I'm not going to make it a public viewing. Kids, I mentioned this, I believe, early in the season, the respect and honor of the sport means you've got to discipline yourselves, control yourselves when it comes to head shots, neck shots. These, don't assume the helmet is enough protection when it comes to taking a cross check to the head. And there's certainly not enough protection in the neck area. There's nothing wrong with shoulder to shoulder. you've got to be more disciplined when it comes to headshots. The girls obviously with the headgear that they now wear, there was a realization about that. But I did see a lot of calls yesterday in the girls' game too for violating that space. Sorry if I don't have the correct technical term, but it's something that we have to just try to be a little bit more aware of. And remember, you are protecting your opponent, and that's part of the spirit of this sport. Please make a better effort at this. Also on the college side last night, the Weber women on Sunday lost to number 9 Georgetown 13-8. Samantha Escher with 3 goals. Robinson's Caitlin Patterson and Flanagan's Courtney Cox with 2 goals each in the loss. The Flagler women fell 16-5 to St. Anselm on Monday. Katie Stubitz with 2 goals for Flagler. Tonight on the college side, Embry-Riddle men are hosting Maryville. We've got Rollins women hosting UVA Wise, and the Florida Tech women hosting Illinois Tech. Coming games tonight. On the boys' side, Community School 4-2 hosts Estero at 6-1. Berkeley Prep at 4-5 is hosting Riverview Sarasota at 6-1. I'm sorry, 6-2. The big game tonight, game I'll be at, Jupiter at 7-4. Continuing their slate of easy games by taking on number 1 Lake Mary at 9-0. Looking forward to seeing that one. Ransom Everglades at 4-6 hosts Gulliver Prep at 4-2. Lakeland at 6-3 hosts All Saints Academy at 5-0. Episcopal School Jacksonville at 4-3 is hosting 5-2 Buchholz. Columbus 7-2 is hosting 5-4 Western. St. Thomas 5-2 is hosting Dallas Jesuit, which is 2-0 on the season. On the girls' side, Pinecrest, as I mentioned, is going to be hosting Bartram Trail. Berkeley Prep at 4-3 hosts Riverview Sarasota at 6-1. We've got St. Stephen's at 6-0 hosting Out of Door Academy at 6-0. That's quite a big game over on the Gulf Coast. Calvary Christian, Fort Lauderdale, 4-1 is hosting Stoneman at 5-3. Seacoast Collegiate 6-1 is hosting 6-3 Niceville up in the Panhandle. We've got Lake Wales at 6-0 hosts Bartow at 3-2. Buchholz 3-3 hosts Episcopal School at 6-2. And Oak Hall 3-3 hosts Santa Fe at 5-1. The awards came out for the conferences on the college side last night. Sunshine State Conference Awards, Florida Tech's Colin Stewart, Men's Player of the Week. Tampa's Matthew Beto, Men's Defensive Player of the Week. PBA's Noah McEwen, Men's Specialist of the Week. Lynn Sidney Hill, Women's Offensive Player of the Week. Embry-Riddle's Elizabeth Ninesling, Defensive Player of the Week. American Athletic Conference Awards, UF's Emma Reitman, Defender of the Week. UF's Emma Lopinto, Freshman of the Week. I believe the ASUN comes out today. The polls that came out yesterday, Jacksonville men, inside lacrosse number 12, number 13 in USA lacrosse, number 16 in the USILA coaches poll. Jacksonville women, number 20, and the Gators women, number 13 in the inside lacrosse IWLCA poll. And in the IWLCA inside lacrosse D2 on the women's side, Florida Southern 6, Rollins 9, Tampa 13, Embry-Riddle 16 as they continue their rise, St. Leo 23, and Lynn and Florida Tech are also getting votes. On the USILA men D2 poll, Tampa number 2, Rollins number 11, Florida Tech 13, Florida Southern 16, and assuming they win before the next poll comes out, that should be a major leap. And St. Leo is garnering votes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, I had mentioned about what's going on with the power rankings and the Florida High School Athletic Association in order to determine, both at-large bids, actually 3 things, at-large bids, district seedings, and then seedings within the region based on the district winners. I wanted to read a little bit about what I received from Gainesville. The Florida Power Rankings include forfeitures, do not include preseason results, nor consider margin of victory. So they will not match the Max Preps rankings listed on the Max Preps site. However, all district tournament and regional tournament seeding will be based entirely on the Florida Power Rankings. Florida Power Rankings will be posted on the lacrosse page of the website, will be the only official rankings. Max Prep's rankings that can be viewed at Max Prep are not the same as the Florida Power Rankings. That tells me that there is something proprietary in a difference. Okay, regional tournament qualification schools will be seeded for the regional tournament using that power ranking. District tournament champions will be seeded 1 to 4 per the regional bracket. The highest ranked district tournament champion will be named the number 1 seed, and 2 and 3 and 4 so on. Remaining 4 teams will be selected as an at-large qualifier in each regional bracket. They'll be determined by the FHSAA Power Rankings once the district tournament has completed, which means that there's going to be a little bit of shuffling based on the districts themselves. Now, one thing to keep in mind, April 2nd will be the last day that will count towards the FHSAA rankings, even though the regular season ends on April 9th. So everyone who is in the who has a tough last week of the season, don't be surprised if the result doesn't mean anything for the district seeding itself. Okay, so the highest ranked team in each region that is not a champion will be assigned as the number 5 seed. Next highest 6, 7, and 8. In all regional rounds, the higher seed will be designated the host. Determination of a host school using these criteria is not absolute if the FHSAA office decides to use an alternative location. Okay, now this is something that not only answers some questions, but also raises some more. And I just, wanted to sort of point out that I've mentioned that we're preparing a list of questions. I just want to tell you what they are so far. Is the FHSAA using a proprietary methodology, or is it a third-party outsourced one? And number 2, if third party, who is it that's producing it for you? Number 3, how are out-of-state games included, if at all? Some of our top programs play some of the top-ranked teams from Maryland, North Carolina, Texas, and Georgia. Are those results included? Now, I hit on this one in particular because of what's in number 4. If the answer to number 3 is yes, what happens if one of those teams does not participate in Max Prep's uploads? Because that's where at least the database comes from. For example, the best high school conference in America, the MIAA, in and around Baltimore, is notorious for not posting results because they only play for their conference championship, not even the Maryland state title. Those of you who are familiar and have looked at Max Preps in the past will notice at the end of the season that a lot of times you will not see an MIAA team ranked, at least in the top 10. And one of the reasons is they don't post enough game scores for that to actually calculate into Max Prep's final national ranking. The MIAA has one goal in mind, and that is win the MIAA conference tournament championship. That's it. Everything else that happens is not relevant. I've seen years, for instance, where Inside Lacrosse on their final boys top 25, you'll see an MIAA team that has 7 losses in the top 25. And part of that is because everything they do is geared towards that one thing. If they win a national championship, great, but the bragging rights are for the conference and that tournament. These are not post-grad prep schools like you see with an Avon Old Farms, a Salisbury, a Deerfield, where you could have teams that are national powers, but they'll have a post-grad high school component to their roster too. This is number 5, since margin of victory is not included, how do you come to the strength of schedule calculation? I'm pretty good with math, but it's kind of hard to see exactly how deep the calculation goes if there isn't any sort of margin of victory component to it. Now, maybe this is a little bit misleading in the wording, and maybe that the point is anything over 8-goal win or 10-goal win is not part of the calculation. But the words in the memo strictly say margin of victory is not assessed. Number 6, how is IMG designated in calculations? The Ascenders program is the high school program. The National is the post-grad travel program, which is their high school equivalent. I'm sorry, the Ascenders are the high school equivalent. They play a national schedule at times and fill in with some Florida high schools. They are a club independent officially because they do not play for the FHSAA championship. Do their game results count in the calculations? Number 7, is there a minimum games played requirement for results in Florida? Some teams are not fully scheduled this year to the maximum and have a number of out-of-state games scheduled. Is there a possibility that there's a requirement for a certain number of Florida games and a couple of schools who have extensive out-of-state schedules don't meet the criteria, and what happens? The release indicates that each school is responsible for uploading scores to MaxPreps. Do both schools have to enter the result for it to be official? Or is it really the home team that has the responsibility? I mean, there have been times where there's been delays in posting scores. I've not been able to carry a score of a game because of that. Does an official information request cover explaining the details of the mathematical calculations used to come up with the power rankings? I'm specifically asking this question because whereas they might not want to volunteer the mathematical calculation, if it's proprietary to the FHSAA as a public entity, would I be able to request it officially in order to break down the details for the readership? Those are the questions I've come up with so far. If anyone out there has something they want to ask about, please let us know here at FLN. I think it's just, it's one of those occasions where the more open Gainesville is in explaining the methodology, the less likely we're going to have complaints about it afterwards. Because I can tell you, after reviewing the final regular season last year, there were some things that if we had at-large bids, certainly seating, there was a potential seating issue in a couple of these things. And we really need to have people look and see and understand, if for no other reason, just to make sure the coaches, when they do their scheduling, are fully on board with putting together a schedule that will maximize their chances to make their tournament. Okay, get out to a game if you can. Obviously, it's a little light this week. Take advantage. You have great out-of-state teams in. Go out and look at them. Hashtag #TAFTag. Take a friend to a game if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and please encourage others to do so. Like the videos if you find that you do enjoy them. This is Lee Roggenberg, Florida Lacrosse News, saying so long from the Sunshine State.